Hey everybody, welcome back to the JK Man Podcast. Today we're going to talk a little bit about anime. When I was growing up, aside from like the generic Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, or Dragon Ball Z, never really watched a lot of it because I thought it was kind of dumb. But then as years go on, I eventually get coaxed into watching one here and there. I actually start to enjoy it a little bit. I still don't watch it excessively, but now I actually enjoy it. And a few of my favorites would be like Black Clover, Rise of the Shield Hero, Demon Slayer, Solo Leveling. I know, it's the most basic stuff, but a lot of these shows make me laugh or I just love the storyline. But I want to say I'm really excited that in October, at least on Crunchyroll, we'll finally get a new season of Black Clover and Solo Leveling. They left us off on such a cliffhanger, and plus, if you try to like read the mangas, you can get a little bit of a possible storyline of what's happening next, but it's so much better when you get to see it in action. Just like another fun thing, as most of you probably have noticed, you watch shows, doesn't matter which anime it is, you'll start to see that because they're such a great voice actor, you'll hear the same voice in many fucking shows. Just like if you watch Demon Slayer, Inosuke, if you've ever watched Sword Art Online, that's the main character, Kirito. He's also Eren from Attack on Titan, and so many more, including another show that I like called what's the full title now? Start Life in Another World from Zero. That one's kind of like where, for some reason, he got like cursed, so he keeps dying, but he gets a little bit farther, he's trying to win over a girl that he fell in love with. But at least, like that show or Sword Art Online, it's not like Black Clover or a couple other shows out there where they make the lead character have like, I don't know, 2, maybe even 6 love interests. Like, you can tell they're head over heels for him, and they're just like, me? Well, no shit. Can't you fucking tell anything? Like in Black Clover, the main 2 characters have like 2 girls each or more that like them, and they couldn't fucking tell. And the only one that this guy can tell, is his wind spirit, because she's constantly bitching about him taking her out on dates, or if they're gonna get married and all that. And he just basically tells her, piss off. Other than that, you got the captain over there, Yami. He's got a girl that's been head over heels for him since the day they met. His only goal in mind is take a shit and sleep. Almost every episode, he mentions how he's got to take a dump. There was an episode where she's eating dinner, the girl that likes him, with him, along with a few other of the captains, and she's fumbling over her utensils, she's blushing like a motherfucker. She even dressed to the nines to try to impress him, show that she can be more than just a warrior. And she gets flustered every time she's around him, to where she acts like she can't control herself, as animes do. And he goes, are you uncomfortable or something? Because it looks like you got to take a dump. Right back to taking a shit. But that's one of the things that makes you like the character, because it's fucking hilarious. Just like, there's a dude who always thinks he's a ladies' man on there, and he keeps getting shut down time after time, even though he's basically doing the same old tricks. And you'd think after hundreds of rejections that he would try a new approach at least. No. And then he's beating himself up trying to make himself not be a lady man anymore because he has undying love for this girl that's supposed to be engaged to his brother. So now he's making a vow that he won't hit on any girl ever again to prove that he deserves her. And yet he constantly is fucking that up. He's talking in his head like, you can do it. You love her, not them. Avoid eye contact. And then when he catches himself doing it out of impulse because his hormones are going fucking crazy, all of a sudden he's bashing his head against the floor or against the wall or hitting himself because he's like, you're stupid, stupid, stupid. You love her. Quit staring at other girls. He can't fucking help it. And then Asta, the shorter one, he's inspirational. He's strong. And when he's using his demon powers, he's fucking badass. But majority of the time, he's a dumbass. He's one of those meatheads. I think they actually call him that in the show, and his captain's not too far off. And then you get shows like Demon Slayer. Those ones, a lot of awesome action and great artwork. But then it's also really funny too. Like when they're constantly yelling at each other, and then they get to those like little chibi versions of it, so it's a little bit more humor for you. Or they make characters a little bit outlandish. Like there's a guy who's called the Fire Hashira, and they're sitting down eating a meal over at some kind of diner, and every fucking bite, tasty, tasty. It's like, what the fuck? Not every bite is that fucking delicious. But it also shows you the power of like pushing through instead of giving up. Like not giving up on his sister for being turned into a demon, trying to find a way to turn her back. Also kind of get revenge for his family because the demon that they're hunting down is the one that turned her but killed the family. And I think the only way to possibly cure her is kill him. And so far, they've gotten close. It's just funny that I even Googled it to make sure. I always thought that the main demon looked like Michael Jackson. And they actually themed him after him. That's why he's got the suit, the fedora, and he's got the wiggly hair from like the slightly younger Michael Jackson days. I was just waiting for him to go and do something with his demon powers and go hee hee or some bullshit. But then you got some boring shows too. Like I tried watching The Magus Bride. It's just so slow, and it's so shitty at explaining what's going on that I gave up after like maybe 3 episodes. I just couldn't get into it. It's just, he's this creature with a skull with horns and a cloak. He's huge. He finds this girl. I don't remember how he obtains her, but basically like buys her or some shit. And now that's going to be his new bride. He treats her with a lot of respect and dignity, and he's nice towards her and stuff, but all of a sudden she's also doomed to die now that that's his wife, and something about him trying to find a way to not have this wife die, and it just doesn't make any fucking sense. So it makes you think, what kind of fucking show is this about? I just can't figure it out. Then there's another show, something to do with like zombies in a high school. The episodes were very quick, even though there was a lot of them, and I just couldn't get into it. The artwork sucked, the animation part of it sucked, the storyline was just completely stupid. Typical like jocks and cheerleaders in a school, and all of a sudden somebody turns zombie. They're running around and don't know how to handle a zombie like a teenager hasn't seen a fucking horror movie of any kind. Give me a break. Or, I was told it's funny, but it's like 15 to 25 minute episodes of a show called like High School DxD or some shit. I don't remember. I get it was partially humor, partially for like, you know, guys looking at girls and like boobs and shit like that, but the show made no sense. You couldn't follow along with anything. It just happened so quickly. You just basically hear a high-pitched squeal here and there and a couple of giggles and a serious music once in a while, and then the episode's over. So that makes you want to go watch things like Blue Exorcist instead. A lot of drama, a lot of kind of like figuring yourself out moments, as Ren did quite often while trying to prove to his brother and his adoptive father that he can control himself while still being himself instead of conforming and all sorts of other shit, and that the other brother who thinks he's so perfect isn't as perfect as he thinks, because he's gotten out of control a few times, especially considering he didn't think he had the devil powers, because they're both sons of the devil. And then towards the end of that last season that they had out on Netflix before they took it off, they proved that wrong too. He's got the powers too. That's why the devil was able to possess his body but not Ren's. Then you got like comedies mixed with action, mixed with like sex jokes and shit, like Seven Deadly Sins. That was probably one of the first animes I actually tried to watch once I decided to give it a chance, and I just couldn't get over how hilarious it was and sad in some points, and then getting pissed off at certain characters like you do with every show. Like back to Black Clover, there's at least a couple of characters anybody will hate from every show, but for that one, I think my two characters I hate the most, and it's just purely off of the fucking noises they make. They got one guy on there, they don't even remember his actual name half the time, because he's so ignorant. I can't say it. He's not important, and his own captain forgets that he's on his team at one point, but that's the other one in question. The dipshit who's not important, every sentence ends in ha-ha of some form, which makes him come off a little stupid, but also like a pretty boy. And then his captain, he walks around like a fucking bug. Part of the reason why his group's called the Mantises, I think. But his name is Jack the Ripper. But everything he says, it ends with his tongue out like a lizard and him going, "Keh, keh." And all he wants to do is fucking fight all the time. Meanwhile, the other guy, he's getting tossed around. He was being like a chauffeur, because it's pretty much the only thing he's good for is transportation. For some of the crew members, he would get sent to go clean bathrooms. Once in a while, sent to help a different group of people. Or for a while, he was actually the king's bitch, because they kind of forgot that he was there after the king started giving him some praise. He even decided to give him an unnecessary and unqualified promotion just because he got pissed that a couple of other people that are lower class also got high promotions. So he says, "I'm the king, so I can do this." And then that's when his captain completely forgot who he was, because he was trying to beg him to bring him back to the hideout, get him away from the king. He goes, "Is that guy on your team?" He goes, why would I ever let a pathetic loser like that on my team? I have no idea who he is or something like that. And then the king found him and it's basically like, come on bitch, back to work. So now he's stuck with the king and he's upset. Even though he thought he was big and tough in the very beginning. He thought he was all powerful too. And all it took was, I think it was a headbutt from Asta right to at full power. Because Asta doesn't have any magic, but that fucker's strong. Knocked that other idiot's ass, and he somehow still got picked to join one of the crew. Because typically, if they like you, they'll put you on their team. If you don't, you can try again the next year, but you don't get on a team like the last kid for dodgeball type thing. But then you got Solo Leveling. It's got a little humor here and there, but it's so fucking thrilling, and the action and the fight scenes and how much stronger he gets with every battle, and then finding out about hidden secrets like his dad still being around and them not knowing about it, but him being close by, and also waiting to see what will happen when the one dude that his dad beat the shit out of, what he's gonna do when he gets out of the hospital, because he's still mad that the main character was responsible for his brother's death. But to be fair, his brother was a murdering, robbing liar anyway. He hired him and I think a couple of other people to be basically bait so they can steal all the mana crystals, like that's their money there, even though they were supposed to get a cut. Because what happens in a dungeon stays in a dungeon. So you can die in there and you can't prove anything without a camera. And most of the time you don't have a camera. You're there to survive and get paid. Their only goal, get rich. You need at least 8 people, and then they also get a few extras for just in case, hauling and all that shit. Those are the sacrifices. And they pick the lower ranks because it goes E to like S rank as far as strength goes, S being the best. And they pick the lower ones because they need the money, they don't know any better, they're very expendable. Kind of like throwing dollars in the vending machine. But then he gets suckered into a dungeon before that causes him to die, but somehow brought back to life because all of a sudden now he's got these powers that I'm thinking is one of the monarchs that they kept talking about later in the series. Like he's the Shadow Monarch, hence why he can bring all those soldiers from the shadows after he extracts their soul, provided they let him. And I just want to find out why he's able to just keep getting stronger, unless he's supposed to eventually become some form of a god or some shit. And also to see if the asshole father to his friend who they run a guild together with manages to survive, because the main character, Jinwoo's mom, had mana sickness, so she's basically in a coma until further notice, and the only reason he was fighting in the first place in these dungeons is to pay for her treatment, but also take care of him and his sister, since Dad was out of the picture. Well, throughout leveling up and doing dungeons and then getting his own little tasks, because he's almost got like a game screen even though he's not in a video game, of you gotta do these things and you get rewards, you do this, you get a reward. Sometimes it's like healing potions, sometimes it's armor and shit like that. Sometimes he'll get a key that gives him like his own private dungeon that he has to try to complete on his own. And the one dungeon, it said if you complete it, you'll get all the ingredients for the elixir of life. which is said to pretty much heal everything for the show. He finally gets it, gives it to his mom, and it brings her back. Well, sometime after one of the big battles towards the end of the series, the buddy's asshole dad ended up getting mana sickness, and now he is in a coma. He only had 3 of those elixir potions, and I think he only has 1 left because he used one on another S-rank woman who was very badly injured in one of the fights. It didn't work because she was too severely hurt, but she ended up getting healed from the shadow he resurrected from one of the teammates they lost, who was supposed to be an ungodly strong healer, long enough to get her good enough to transport and then release his soul so he's not serving him and giving him the respect of passing on, especially getting to say goodbye to one of his friends who was also in the dungeon with him. So technically he used 2 potions already. I'm just waiting to see if he's willing to, let bygones be bygones, because he does the typical, my firstborn, he's my favorite. I want him to run the company. I don't trust you because you're young and naive and all this other shit, even though they're only a couple years apart. He wanted a chance to prove his dad wrong, but at every chance, his dad was cutting him down, critiquing the shit out of his progress, even if he did well, and then arguing with him that, like, hey, maybe let me take over type shit, so that way he gets all the credit, probably to shut his son out again. And then once he decided to basically go, fuck you, Dad, and then start the guild with his friend, then his tune changed, but that was also shortly before he got sick with that mana shit. But in the end, it's leading up to bigger, badder people to fight, because they ended it with him defeating a very, very strong, like, bug creature that was sentient. Now, they showed that there's these people that look like they're from another dimension almost. And we get to see what the fuck's going on there and what that has to do with his dad, and also figure out how strong his dad really is, because they told us originally that he was one of the S ranks, but he's also been stuck in whatever dungeon he's been in up until that point for over 10 years. And I was reading a little bit of a manga the one day, and my brother was also telling me about it because he listens to him on his phone once in a while. Being in that dungeon, somehow, kind of like his son, he was able to continuously get stronger. So it makes you wonder how strong he really is. And then you got shows like Rise of the Shield Hero, where it's one of those, they get in different locations of the world at different times and different worlds, where they select somebody in a random way. Like the main character here with the shield, he was in a library and picked up a book, and all of a sudden it had some writing in it. He read it, flipped to a blank page, it kind of lit up, and then he gets sucked into this white room, and there's like 3 other people there. They're all from Japan, different worlds and different, like, universes almost, but they're all roughly around the same age. They got handpicked by the world's creator or some shit to be the world's heroes and try to save it, even though they've had numerous in the past. And I guess, I don't know how they went about naming who gets what. It just kind of happened that they got the weapon that they did, but they're not allowed to get rid of it. They are their weapon, basically. Like his shield never comes off. There was one time where they were able to take it off for a brief moment, but otherwise it's stuck to his arm. The only thing he can do is change it into a different shield by feeding it materials and other stuff from battles or animals and creatures that they fight, and it'll give it special abilities, so he morphs it into a different shield with a different power. And then there's a guy with a sword, a guy with a bow, and then a guy with a spear. And within the last season of watching that, he finally got all 4 of them to work together, because the shield hero, through spreading rumors, was looked down to be the shittiest of all heroes. He's dirty, untrustworthy, all the fucking things you can think of. But then he starts redeeming himself, even though it wasn't him who did any of these things, by not listening to them, standing up for himself, making his own way, and gaining respect over a lot of people, to the point where the queen overthrew the king and basically demoted the husband, which is the king, and the eldest daughter for being pieces of shit. And he got to pick the names, because they can't go as their names anymore because of what they did, between lying and causing him all this grief and everything you can think of. That her normal everyday name should be Bitch, and her adventurer name is Slut. And as soon as I heard that, I bust out laughing. It's like, God, you gotta love when they include like present day humor instead of stuff that's themed towards the show. But eventually, after a lot of different things happening and him proving himself, the queen demotes them and then gives him his own domain, and then he's rescuing slaves and bringing them back to their homeland, and they end up building a huge city. He acquires more land, and the whole time the very first slave that he bought but also freed at one point is the girl with the sword above him, named Raftalia. She's like half raccoon, they call them demi-humans. She's in love with him, and it's another one of those he can't fucking tell to save his life. And then the blonde above him, she's actually a bird. Her name's Philo, some kind of bird that's going to eventually be like the queen of the bird that she is. And she's like a daughter to him, but she also acts like she's in love with him as well. But now she kind of acts like the annoying little sister to the Raftalia while she's in love with him. He kind of knows now because he listened instead of just, huh? She's trying to convince him, because after they're done finishing off the waves, they're supposed to be sent back to their original homes. But they don't have to if they don't want to. He always had it in his head, do a good enough job to get the fuck out of there so he doesn't have to see those douchebags ever again. This is before they started working together. But then during one of the battles, he had a change of heart because she slightly outed herself on how she feels about him, and she also really didn't want him to go. She broke down crying and everything. And he told her that he's going to stay, but we'll see in season 5 if he just said that to say it, calm her down, or if he was just fucking lying to her and he was going to leave her behind. You gotta love cliffhangers. Like, I just finished watching Clevitus the other day. I had to Google it just to make sure that the show wasn't one of those one season and they're done. They leave it off where the dark beast lord, his name is Clevitus, can go into a human form, calls himself Clen. He resurrected 2 people. One was killed by some like slave ravagers or whatever the fuck they were, and the other one was killed technically by him. But he can use his blood, they call it dark ichor, to like mend the bodies as long as there's other ones surrounding it to fill in missing parts. And they're his servants now because they're under his control. Well, he destroys a kingdom because of the heroes being sent to go after him. He kills the king in the first place, and then he was about to go away, but he heard crying in the rubble. Turns out there's this woman holding a little baby that resembles the king a little bit. Turns out that's his grandson. And he ended up taking the dying word of this woman about changing his mind about wanting to destroy all of humanoid life and all that, because he's tired of all the bullshit of, oh, dark beasts are the worst and blah blah blah. We just mind our business. You guys are the bad ones, always trying to find ways of hurting us. Well, he got convinced to learn that not every humanoid can be evil. He also has to think the fact that it also depends on who raised you, because it's the woman who is dying goes, you're not thinking straight. It doesn't matter what family they're born into, it's the family that they have. And then over a bunch of learning experiences, because aside from his world he doesn't know too much. He didn't know that there was magic, he didn't know about a lot of human customs because he doesn't spend time around humans much. Well, fast forward, they have a battle towards the end, defeat a couple of big bad guys, and the baby finally gets reunited with his mother, and the Clevitus in the human body plus the two servants are standing in front of the queen, and she's thanking them for saving him and bringing him back to her and all this other shit, and goes, name it, anything you want, you can have it. Clem gets a really big grin with a kind of weird look on his face, and right away the hero, her name's Alicia, she says, Clem, what are you thinking? Because she's thinking him being the way he is, he's going to ask for something stupid or really fucked up. And he spouts out, even though he knows nothing about it, I want to be the boy's magic teacher. And then it leaves you off with, I'm guessing the second servant is still with the baby because she was helping take care of it. But it shows Clem and Alicia in uniforms walking towards this building like they're getting ready to go start teaching this kid how to do magic. Keep in mind the fucker's not even 6 months old. And he's already walking and has a tooth, but they're going to teach him about magic and he don't even know how to talk. And then I was like, okay, next episode. Fuck, I'm already at the end. Don't know when it's coming out, but at least there will be a season 2. But there's a lot of shows out there that are really good, but they only have one season. Or one that goes, we will be back for another season, but because of the delay with animation and dubbing the voices from Japan and whatnot, it takes a while to get here. I'm still waiting on the next season of Blue Exorcist. I'm still waiting on the Aristocrats, A Worldly Adventure, where he was brought into or reborn into a world where the gods show no mercy. He gets blessings from all the gods and he's overpowered because he has a big threat that we still don't know about, and they just leave you hanging. We're going to make a part 2, but sometimes it takes several years to finally get to that point. But if you guys have any recommendations of animes you might think I like a lot of comedy or thrillers, not too keen on the flat humor and just the cooking husband and stuff. I just don't enjoy stuff like that. But if you got any recommendations, let me know in the comments. I'd like to thank my friends and family for supporting me through all this, and you guys for watching the videos, and like to see where we go from here with suggestions in the comments. Shout out to Michael Slattery from Unqualified Opinions. Thank you, buddy, for giving me some recognition. Thought I'd give you a little love back. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.